The moment you walk away, everything changes. Not just for you, but for her. See, most men spend their lives chasing attention, chasing approval, chasing love that often feels just out of reach. We've been trained to believe that holding on makes you strong, that if you just try harder, give more, stay patient, she'll finally see your worth. But what if I told you that your power begins the moment you stop chasing? What if the real shift happens when you simply walk away, with no anger, no begging, no dramatic exit, just quiet, confident detachment? Let's be honest, society won't tell you this. They'll label it toxic or cold when a man decides to reclaim his energy. But walking away isn't cruelty, it's clarity. It's saying, I'm no longer investing in something that doesn't value me. And make no mistake, she feels it. Not just emotionally, but psychologically. When a man detaches, it triggers a flood of questions in her mind. Did I lose something valuable? Why isn't he fighting for me? Was I wrong about him? That silence, that distance, it hits harder than any argument ever could. This isn't about games, it's about power. Not the kind you use to control someone, but the kind you reclaim when you finally stop trying to prove your worth. Because here's the truth most men never hear. Sometimes the only way to be respected is to walk away. And when you do, what she feels will surprise you. In this video, I'm going to break it all down. The psychological shift, the emotional reaction, and the long-term impact it has on her. We're not talking revenge. We're talking real self-respect. This is how you turn the tables, not through manipulation, but through masculine presence and silence. So buckle up, because by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what happens in a woman's mind when a man stops chasing and simply walks away. 1. She thinks you've found someone better. The moment you walk away, silently, confidently, her mind races to fill in the blanks. And guess what thought hits her the hardest? He must have found someone else. This isn't about jealousy. It's about competition. Women are highly intuitive, and when a man suddenly stops texting, calling, or showing up, she doesn't just assume you lost interest, she assumes you replaced her. And that stings. It's not just that she misses the attention. It's that someone else might be enjoying it now. Someone else might be getting the version of you she didn't value when she had the chance. That thought alone can break her down, even if she doesn't show it. Remember, people tend to value what others want. If she believes another woman sees your worth, suddenly you're not the same man she walked away from. You're upgraded. And she starts to question if she misjudged you, or worse, if she lost to another woman. This hits especially hard if she thought she had you wrapped around her finger, the kind of guy who would never leave. When you walk away, it forces her to confront the one fear she never expected, being replaced. Let's be real. She might have taken you for granted. Thought you'd always be there, no matter what. But the moment you disappear from her world without drama, without begging, she begins imagining who's now getting your attention, your energy, your presence. And the truth is, you don't even need to be with someone else. Just the possibility messes with her. Just the idea that someone else might be experiencing the version of you she couldn't appreciate. That's enough to trigger emotional panic. Like this. She checks your stories and sees you smiling with friends. There's a girl in the background, just once. That's all it takes. Her heart sinks. Her pride flares. She tells herself it's nothing. But she can't stop thinking about it. Now the power dynamic has shifted. You're not chasing. You're not begging. You've walked away. And suddenly, you've become the man she wishes she hadn't pushed away. 2. Her ego takes a massive hit. When you walk away without warning, without drama, without even explaining yourself, it doesn't just hurt her feelings. It hits her ego. Hard. Most women, especially if they're used to attention, assume they're the ones who decide when things end. They expect to be chased, They expect to be forgiven. So when a man simply stops showing up without begging or pleading, it doesn't feel like heartbreak at first. It feels like rejection. A rejection her ego didn't see coming. And here's the truth. That hurts more than missing you. Because now it's not about love or feelings. It's about pride. She starts thinking, wait, how dare he walk away from me? Does he think he can do better? He should be the one hurting, not me. This is where confusion kicks in. Because deep down, she expected you to need her more than she needed you. Maybe she even played it cool, acted distant, or kept you in a gray area, just enough to keep you around. But once you remove yourself from that game, she's left with silence, and silence bruises the ego. It forces her to look in the mirror, to wonder why a man who once cared so deeply no longer does. And if your energy was consistent, if you were always showing up, always giving, and then you stop, that contrast is what stings the most. Let's say you were the type who checked in every day. Good morning texts. Did you eat? Calls. Support when she needed it. Then one day, nothing. She opens her phone expecting your name. It doesn't come. She refreshes. Still nothing. Now she's not just missing you, she's questioning herself. That's what ego death feels like. It's not sadness. It's shock. Because here's the part no one tells you. A man who walks away silently forces a woman to face a version of herself she may have ignored. The version that pushed too hard. That didn't appreciate enough. That thought she could do better, until she realized she already had it. You walking away doesn't just hurt her emotionally. It challenges the image she had of herself. And that's what cuts the deepest. 3. She starts doubting her value. When a man walks away calmly, with no argument, no need for closure, it flips everything in her mind. Especially if she thought she had the upper hand. At first, she might act unbothered. She might post like everything's fine. But that silence you leave behind? It starts echoing. Loudly. And soon, she starts asking herself the one question she never expected to ask. Was I not enough? That's the part most men don't realize. Women, especially confident, attractive ones, aren't used to being left. They're used to being chosen. So when you remove yourself from her life without trying to win her back, it creates a storm of insecurity beneath the surface. She starts overthinking everything. The way she spoke to you. How she acted when you needed her. Whether she gave enough, appreciated enough, cared enough. Even if she's surrounded by attention, it doesn't hit the same. Because none of them walked away from her. You did. And in her mind, that means something was missing. And maybe that something was her. That's where self-doubt creeps in. Quietly. But it builds. She might not admit it. She might never say a word. But inside, there's a shift. She starts comparing herself, questioning if she pushed away the one man who truly valued her. And worst of all, she starts wondering if you saw something in her that made you decide to leave. That thought doesn't go away quickly. Because deep down, she knows how rare it is for a man to walk away with dignity and stay gone. No threats, no breakdowns, just a man choosing himself. And when that happens, it doesn't just make her miss you. It makes her question her own worth. She might post more, look for validation, try to appear like she's glowing, but that's the mask. Behind the scenes, she's asking herself questions she can't shake off. That's the power of silence. That's the impact of walking away. You didn't try to prove anything. You didn't explain yourself. You just left. With peace. And now? She's left wondering if she was ever enough for a man who finally realized his own value. 4. She gets angry. Then curious. At first, her reaction isn't sadness, it's anger. Not because you hurt her, but because you shocked her. You did something most men don't do. You walked away and didn't look back. She didn't expect that. She expected you to chase, to call, to beg, to try harder, but you didn't. And that breaks the script she's used to. So what happens next? Her ego flares up. She tells herself you're arrogant, that you were never serious, that you're acting immature or trying to play games. But deep down, something else is brewing. Curiosity. Because when a man acts differently than the rest, when he doesn't react with desperation, it forces her to wonder, why? Why isn't he calling? Why isn't he fighting for me? Why is he so okay without me? Now listen, this part is important. For you. Too many men collapse the moment they feel tension. They fold at the first sign of resistance. And that's the problem. Men keep giving power to women who haven't earned it. They chase validation, hoping love will come through effort. But that mindset needs to die. You weren't born to beg. You weren't built to constantly explain your worth. At some point, you have to stop asking why she doesn't see you, and start asking why you've been blind to your own value. Walking away isn't about punishing her. It's about saving yourself. And when you finally do it, her entire attitude changes. The anger fades. The curiosity grows. She starts checking your socials, asking her friends about you, watching your stories from a fake account, not because she misses the attention, but because she's trying to understand how you got free. And that's your moment of clarity. Because when a woman gets curious about you after walking away, it means you've done something most men never do. You stopped giving your energy to someone who didn't know what to do with it. She'll get angry. That's her pride talking. But curiosity? That's her real emotion trying to figure out what she lost. Wake up. Stay strong. This is where the shift begins. 5. She misses the control. Let's be real. In most modern relationships, control is silent. It's not about who says what or who makes the rules. It's about who's emotionally invested more, and who's constantly trying to prove themselves. And if you were always the one initiating, apologizing, fixing things, even when it wasn't your fault, then like it or not, she had control. Not because she asked for it, but because you kept giving it away. But the moment you walk away, the dynamic collapses. She no longer gets to decide when you talk. She can't test your patience anymore. She can't lean back and wait for you to fix things. And that sudden loss of power, it messes with her. Because make no mistake, many women are used to being in the driver's seat emotionally. Not because they're evil or manipulative, but because men let them take that seat. And here's the truth. She didn't always love you. She loved the control. She loved knowing you'd always come back. That no matter how cold or distant she acted, you'd be there, ready to prove yourself again. Now, you're not there. You're not texting. You're not asking for closure. And suddenly, she's no longer in charge of the emotional temperature. She may act like she doesn't care. But trust me, she notices. And deep down, she misses the grip she once had over your mind. This is where men need to check themselves. If you've ever caught yourself thinking, maybe if I just explain a little more, or if I just give her space, she'll see my worth, you've already lost control. Because true masculine energy doesn't beg. It doesn't chase what pulls away. When you walk away and stay grounded, she starts realizing the part of the connection she thought she controlled is gone. And that's when the confusion hits her hardest. Because for the first time, you're not responding to her silence with more effort. You're responding with absence. She didn't expect that. She expected to pull a string and watch you move. But now that you've cut the string, she's the one feeling powerless. And she'll feel that loss deeper than she ever expected. 6, she begins watching you in silence. Once you walk away and truly mean it, no games, no fake detachment, she doesn't chase you right away. She watches quietly. This is the part most men don't realize is happening. You think she's forgotten you. You think your silence went unnoticed. But the truth? She's paying closer attention now than ever before. She may not call. She may not text. But behind that silence is a sharp awareness of everything you're doing. And the more calm and unbothered you appear, the more curious and frustrated she becomes. See, women are emotionally intuitive. They can feel when your energy shifts, even if you say nothing. And when your attention is no longer orbiting around her, when your presence disappears completely, she starts to look for signs. Is he really over me? Is he pretending? Is he moving on? And that's when she starts watching. She watches what you post. She watches your stories. She checks who you're with, what you're doing, and most of all, how you're acting without her. And when she sees you stable, smiling, focused, it burns. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because she expected your world to fall apart without her. But you didn't fall apart. You got quieter. You leveled up. And now? She can't stop watching. Here's the part where men often mess up. They notice she's watching. They feel it. And instead of staying focused, they start performing. They post things for her. They start trying to prove how happy they are. Don't do that. Don't break your silence for validation. Because the moment she sees you trying to get a reaction, she knows you're still under her spell. And that kills all the respect your silence earned. The real power is in being unfazed. Keep living. Keep building. Keep moving forward. Not to show her, but because you finally remembered who you are without needing her approval. And trust me, she'll notice the difference. Not because you're shouting it, but because she's watching the man who finally stopped orbiting around her and started becoming untouchable. 7. She replays every mistake she made. When you walk away without a fight, no guilt trip, no begging for her to see your worth, you force her into silence. And silence has a way of turning into reflection. At first, she blames you. She tells herself you're weak, selfish, cold. She repeats those stories to her friends just to feel better. But when the noise dies down and no new texts are coming in, something happens. She starts thinking. Not about you. About her. She begins to replay it all. The things she said when you were vulnerable. The way she brushed you off when you needed her to listen. The times she tested your patience just to feel in control. The way she kept you close but never gave you full access. And with each memory, a slow realization starts creeping in. Maybe I went too far. Maybe he gave me more than I gave him. Maybe I didn't respect him the way he deserved. This is the stage most men don't get to see. Because by now, they've either crawled back or broken the silence. But if you stay centered, if you continue walking forward without turning around, she's left alone with the truth. And that truth becomes heavier every day. She remembers your consistency, your patience. The way you tried, really tried, when most wouldn't have. And now that all of that is gone, the weight of her own actions hits different. You didn't scream. You didn't punish her. You just stopped showing up. And in doing that, you gave her the one thing she never had before. A mirror. A mirror to face herself. This is how regret forms. Not from being abandoned, but from realizing she was handed something valuable and didn't protect it. She took you for granted. She underestimated your breaking point. And now, she can't stop thinking about where she went wrong. Let her. Don't interrupt it. Don't send a text trying to check in. Because if she's truly reflecting, that's the best consequence of all. Your absence is teaching her what your presence never could. How it feels to lose a man who finally chose himself. 8. She questions. If she ever really knew you. When a man who once gave his all suddenly disappears without chaos, without explanation, without need, it creates a new kind of silence. Not the silence of distance, but the silence of mystery. And that's where her mind starts spiraling. Who was he really? Was he just pretending to care? Was there a side of him I never understood? See, here's what happens when you walk away calmly and completely. You break the version of you she created in her head. She thought she had you figured out. The guy who was too nice. The one who would never leave. The one who always tried harder, even when she didn't. But your silence? Your decision to just walk away, no words, no warnings, proves she never really understood you at all. And that unsettles her more than anything. Because now you're not just the guy who loved her. You're the guy who had the strength to walk away from her. She starts reevaluating the entire relationship. Not because she wants to, but because you broke the predictable pattern. And when someone you thought you knew breaks character, you don't just miss them. You start obsessing over what you missed. That's what keeps her up at night. Not knowing who you really are. not knowing what finally pushed you over the edge, not knowing if she ever had a real place in your life, or if she was just part of your story, not the center of it. And here's the truth. That uncertainty is more powerful than closure. Because closure gives answers. Mystery creates obsession. Most men don't allow themselves to be that mystery. They over-explain. They try to be understood. But the moment you stop explaining and just disappear into your purpose, she's left with more questions than answers. And every day you remain silent. Those questions grow louder. Not because she misses you, but because now she's no longer sure she ever really had you. That's what walking away with grace does. It doesn't just remove you from her life. It shatters the image she had of you and forces her to wonder if you were always a different man than the one she thought she knew. 9. She tries to pull you back subtly. Here's what most men don't see coming. After you walk away and hold your ground, she rarely comes back with a full apology. No emotional confession, no dramatic, "I miss you." Instead, she gets subtle. Because admitting she lost you is hard. Admitting she took you for granted, even harder. So instead of saying it, she tries to pull you back without looking like she's chasing. She might start liking your posts again. Random stories? She's viewing all of them. You get a message out of nowhere like, "Hey, hope you're good." It sounds casual, innocent, friendly, but it's not. It's a test. She's trying to see if you'll bite, if you'll respond, if you'll take the bait and fall back into orbit without her having to say anything real. This is where most men fail. Because the moment she throws that little breadcrumb, they think, "She misses me. I still have a chance." And just like that, they give their power away again. They respond instantly. Try to restart old conversations. Start proving themselves all over again. Stop. This is where your self-respect has to be stronger than your feelings. Understand. She's not coming back to build something new. She's coming back to see if she still has access. She wants to know, do you still need her validation? Are you still emotionally tied to her? Or, did you really outgrow her? She won't say these things out loud, but her actions reveal the truth. A subtle DM. A playlist you randomly notice she shared. A picture with a cryptic caption. She's not just living her life, she's sending signals. And those signals are meant to pull you back without her having to admit she regrets losing you. This is your test. Because how you respond now tells her everything. Whether you were walking away to grow, or just walking away to get a reaction. You want to stay powerful? Stay silent. Don't respond out of emotion. Move with discipline, not desperation. Because once she sees she can't pull you back with half effort, that's when she realizes you're gone for real. 10. She realizes too late. What she lost. There's a moment that hits her, but it doesn't come right away. It doesn't happen when you walk away. It doesn't happen when she gets angry. It doesn't even happen when she sends that casual just checking in message. No. It hits her when the silence becomes permanent. When days turn into weeks. When she looks around and realizes, you're not coming back. And that's when it sinks in. You were real. You were solid. You were the one who stayed consistent when she was unpredictable. You loved her with patience when she gave you confusion. And now? Now she can't feel that energy anymore. It's gone. And for the first time, she realizes what she had. But it's too late. That's the cost of playing with something genuine. That's what happens when someone mistakes presence for weakness. She thought you'd always be there. She thought your love meant attachment. She thought she could take her time, explore other options, do whatever she wanted, because you'd always be waiting. But men who wake up, they don't wait. They don't sit around hoping to be chosen. They choose themselves, and they don't look back. And when she sees that you're not the same man anymore, that you've leveled up, stayed grounded, and never reached back, that's when regret becomes real. But by then, It's not your problem anymore. This is where you must stay strong. Because this is the moment when she might finally reach out. Seriously. She might confess, apologize, show real emotion. But don't let that moment fool you. She's not reaching out because she suddenly became someone new. She's reaching out because your absence revealed who you always were, and now she sees it too late. That's not a win for her. That's a lesson. For you. A reminder that your value doesn't rise when someone finally notices. It was there all along. Walking away didn't make you stronger. It simply reminded you that you already were. And now, she finally sees what she lost. And you finally understand. You were never the one who needed saving. Let's be clear about one thing. A woman may forget the man who gave her everything, but she will never forget the man who gave her nothing once he realized she gave him less. That's the truth most people aren't ready to hear. This video wasn't about bitterness. It wasn't about playing games. It was about something deeper, self-respect. Because when you stop pouring into someone who only sips from your cup, you finally start feeding your own soul. And if you've ever walked away from someone who didn't see your value, I want to hear your story. Drop it in the comments. Be real. I read everything, and I'll be replying to as many of you as I can. Let this be more than just a video. Let it be a space for men to speak the truth, to connect, and to wake each other up. We're not here to hate. We're here to heal. By learning to never chase what was never holding on. You're not alone in this. You've just been silent for too long. Now, it's your turn to speak.